Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to Devin's Dog Days. I'm here with my girl Missy and we are working on getting her back into shape. She is really fuzzy right now and very long, but that's okay. We're gonna work her right back into shape and I'm gonna share with you guys how I'm gonna do that. So we went over her ears in our previous video and I also had another video that goes over bathing and maintaining furnishings. So if you haven't watched those yet, be sure to after this. But today I'm going to be going over flat work. So on the Lakeland Terrier, much like a lot of these brick-headed breeds and these long-legged terriers, or even the short-legged terriers, we have what we refer to as our flat work, which is essentially from the corner of the eye to the corner of the ear and then down to the throat right above the breastbone. And we pull tight right up into the flu or behind the canine, and all of this is pulled very nice and flat and tight. So for me today, I am going to be using a few different tools. I have 3 stripping knives that I like to work with when I'm using this. I have the Artero number 2, which is going to be my kind of coarse knife for this. Then I have my Artero number 1, which is going to be my fine. And then I have my Artero Trio Trim, which is going to be for my detail work and helping pull any longer hairs and really blend those areas. I also always have my handy dandy little pumice stick. And I will be using both my Artero ear powder and stripping powder to pull this hair down. And then to finish, because I'm not bathing her today, I am going to use these disinfecting wipes. They're like a bath mitt, pre-soaked, and you just have to wipe them down and you're good to go. So to begin with my flat work, a lot of times I really like to start from the corner of the eye to the corner of the ear, and all of this is going to be pulled nice and tight and flat. And so to get started, I'm going to start with my number 2 blade. And at this point, I'm more than likely going to be pulling her down to the skin, as we call it, or balding her flat work because it is overgrown, and it's just kind of what we have to do to get her back into good shape. So just starting from the surface and pulling the longest hairs. You can already see it's coming out very easily. I'm just going over from the corner of the eye, back. Pulling, and I'm just holding this gently up here just to keep the skin from bouncing back and forth. It just helps keep the tension so the hair comes out even easier and she can be comfortable. You know, all of this coat that I am pulling out, it's all dead at the end, so it just comes out very easily, and it needs help coming out because unlike other shedding breeds that lose their coat or blow their coat naturally, these guys don't release the coat and they need it to be plucked to encourage new and healthy growth. So again, just working my way through. Sometimes you got to pull around a couple different areas. I know that today we're going to be pulling down to the skin, so I'm not really worried about making any holes or anything like that because all of this needs to go. Like I said, so right now I'm using the number 2 Artero stripping knife. Because of the wider teeth it has, it can pull more hair at once. And then I can switch over to my fine knife when I'm ready. Just trying to get some of the bulk out. Sometimes if they're really hairy, Missy usually doesn't get that intensely hairy, but my other boy, he grows very fast and very dense, and a lot of times I will even have to use a number 3 if he goes over on his flat work. Okay, you're okay. And you can already see, so I'm starting to get through to some skin here. So I'm going to flip over and I'm going to change to my number 1 blade and just start really working it down nice and tight. The whole point of this is to pull the hair before it gets too long so that it's set to the correct length, and then when you are pulling it at the right length, which for the flat work area could be like about 1/8 of an inch, like maybe 1/4 of an inch at its longest, and that would be long. I'd say probably closer to the eighth of an inch. It's a really nice covered coating, but not shaggy. There's no hair, you know, sticking out of place. It's all very nice and laying flat and tight to the skin, and that is how it protects them It really acts as their armor against natural elements, against pests that they might be hunting. Really, just this tough coat really helps protect their skin. And that's why it's so important to know how to properly maintain these types of coats and to keep their texture, because not only does hand stripping maintain it the way that they genetically work, it also helps maintain their color, it helps maintain their skin health. If we were to leave all of this hair clogging up those hair follicles, it would absolutely just cause bumps, skin irritation. You know, just clipping it down, you're not removing that hair, so it's all just staying in there and just dying and turning into this loose fluff that's just jammed inside of those pores, and a lot of times can lead to ingrown hairs and other issues, including issues with the oil glands and, you know, little growths, bumps, all sorts of things. So hand stripping is definitely a labor of love, but it is something that is really genuinely good for these types of dogs with these types of coats. You always want to pull with the direction of the coat, and when you're using your knife, stripping knives, you want to hold them perpendicular to the coat, so at a right angle. You want a 90-degree angle as much as you can. When you're carding, which is where you are using a knife to rake, you want to hold it flat to the coat. But those are two different types of things, and I'll definitely go over more of that in a later video. For now, we are just getting through all of this fluff. And boy, does it want to come out. Just look, you can see the dead ends. All the ends on there just coming out like nothing. And so a lot of times I can lift her head up like this, and I'm able to get in under here. You can look right up to the canine, and I'm going to be pulling all of this out here. Again, just using a little bit of powder, rub that in. And I like to use my little stone here. I'm not covering her nose. I'm honestly gripping her very loosely. As you can see, she's resting her head there, and I'm just trying to hold this taut to make her comfortable so that, again, I'm not causing too much rebound on the skin. Now turn their head a little bit. I'm going to place my thumb here to keep her skin from bouncing. Look at all that just coming out like nothing. Good girl. And again, just applying gentle pressure. I'm not restraining her. I'm not fighting her. Good girl. I've already worked. I'm working on this area, pulling down and following that cowlick along the side of the neck. I usually leave a little bit of hair here until the very end because I want to make sure that I blend that really nicely and don't create a hole there. Following the muscle of her cheek and the bone structure, I'm creating basically a C here into that lower jaw. So this all on the outside toward the flatwork is going to be pulled very tight, and then this here is going to be used to create the fall and blend forward into that head to give it that really nice rectangular shape. Again, just pulling with the direction of the coat. Now, because this area is a bit more dense, I'm going to pull out my number 2 again. And that's going to just help me pull it down that much faster because I can get more hair out at once. And I'm really pulling out towards that cowlick. I love to create that line from the back of the ear down into the chest. You know, really nice tight blend there. And blending is not something that I do until I have pulled the neck and the shoulder. So a lot of times, again, just like I do in the corner of the eye, I like to leave about 1/4 of an inch from back and pull from there and leave that amount so that I can blend it. So I do about the same thing here. Just kind of pulling right up to that edge as close as I can. And I know I can pull all this off because I'm not going to want to see this from the side. Good girl, miss. All right, and now following that C, pull this area nice and tight. Okay, And so at this point, I can switch over to the other side and continue pulling with the number 2 to really get this bulk off. And then I'm gonna go back over with my number 1. This lip. It's always good to draw your lines before you pull. Sometimes that can really help you stay within those lines. So drawing some lines can really help and make sure that you don't overdo it or underdo it, and that you're pulling enough but not too much. So again, you can make your line here, pulling back toward the ear. You can make your line here, pulling all of this extra. And you pull your line here. And then you just pull everything in there. Good girl. And actually doing this and turning the head to the side helps already keep the skin taut, so that works really nicely when you're kind of going towards the sides here. Good girl. Good girl. And again, she's just resting her head in my hand right now. Not even holding her. Good girl. And sometimes when you get into these areas where there's a bit of a pocket because her jawbone and under there, just tug the skin to the side and put it on a more flat surface that's easier to access. And then also another good trick is to just use a stone. You don't have to worry about cutting the hair. You can get into tighter places a lot of times when you use a stone. So that works very well too. My arm started hurting, so now I put her on her side and she can just lay down while I finish her opposite side. Always try and do what's comfortable for both you and your dog. Hand stripping can be a very grueling physical task, so make sure you take care of your body. And sometimes once I get to these areas and the hair is going in a different direction, I'll actually let her put her head down. And I just scruff to hold the hair taut. I'm not pinching or anything like that, just trying to help keep the coat tight, and it makes it so much easier to get this area. And it also kind of gets you started with your blend there. It's looking pretty good. We've got a lot of hair, a lot of the bulk off. So now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my number 1, our Terra knife. And I'm just going to go back over everything else I've already done. And just make sure to get it really nice and clean. It's okay if I don't get every single hair, because whatever I don't get this time, I'm gonna get next time when she starts growing in her next layer. I do like to leave a little bit of hair. I don't like to pull her completely bald, because then you're only getting 1 layer in. Whereas if I pull this down now and I leave a very thin layer of this longer hair, I can pull it next week. And there I've already got 2 layers growing in. This I definitely want to get a bit tighter. I can't see skin here yet, so there's still too much hair. There we go, that's better. That's why the number 1 is what I finish with, because it's going to get it really nice and tight the way I like it. much better already. Cleaned up a lot better, following that lip straight back. Rest of this all cleaned out. Already we are off to a good start. Getting those layers growing back in. She is going to be feeling so much better, so much more comfortable in this summer heat now, getting all this hair off of her. But we are working her back into shape. And it works out a lot faster than you realize. Like, the blessing of hand stripping is you can correct it, you can get it back. The curse is that when you lose it sometimes, then it feels like it could take forever. She is already on her way to getting her ears and her flat work grown back in and having those layers recreated. Final touch, gotta use my little bath mitt. Make sure that I wipe her down, make sure she's nice and clean on these areas since we're not doing a bath right now. Just want to make sure that I cleanse the area, and the nice thing is that these wipes are antibacterial, so I can be sure that they're gonna keep her skin clean and healthy. Good girl. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we will keep making more videos on how to care for the Lakeland Terrier coat. Thanks guys, bye!